My name is Claire Thompson. I'm 32 years old. And 8 weeks before my wedding, my fiancé told me he wasn't sure he wanted to marry me anymore. He didn't yell. He didn't cry. He didn't even raise his voice. He sat across from me at our kitchen table, fingers wrapped around his coffee mug like it was an anchor, and said the words that cracked my life clean down the center. I think we should postpone the wedding. I remember the sound of the refrigerator humming behind him, the clock above the stove ticking too loudly, the way my engagement ring suddenly felt heavier on my hand. Postpone? I asked. Ethan nodded. I'm not sure anymore. Not sure. We'd been together 5 years, engaged for 1, deposits paid, venue booked, honeymoon planned. And now he wasn't sure. About what? I asked quietly. About us? He stared into his coffee instead of at me. About marriage. About everything. That was my first mistake. Believing the pause meant uncertainty, not deceit. I swallowed. My chest hurt, but I kept my voice steady. I respect your honesty. He looked up, surprised. You're not mad? I'm disappointed, I said, but I'd rather you be sure than rush into something you'll regret. The relief on his face should have scared me. Instead, he stood and pulled me into a hug. His arms felt familiar, safe, trusted. You're such a good woman, Claire, he murmured. That's what makes this so hard. We agreed he'd stay at his sister's place for a while. Time to think. Space to breathe. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, calling vendors the next morning to ask about postponements. The venue was gracious. We could move the date within a year without penalty. Small miracles, right? Friday morning, I worked from home. Barely ate. Barely moved. Around noon, I checked our Ring doorbell footage, not out of suspicion, just to see when a package arrived. That's when I saw her. Thursday, 2 p.m., while I was at work. Ethan's ex-girlfriend, Lena Morrison, 31. Someone he'd sworn was ancient history. I watched her smile as he opened the door. Then she stepped inside. They kissed. Not a polite kiss. Not a lingering goodbye. A hand on waist, pull her close, kiss. My hands started shaking. I rewound, scrolled back. There were more clips, dozens. Lena arriving while I was at work, staying for hours, leaving flushed and laughing. And then I saw Wednesday. They stood on the porch together looking at his phone. I enhanced the footage on my computer. A wedding venue website. The Oakmont Estate. The date field was filled in. October 14th. My wedding date. I sat there for an hour, staring at the screen, my life rearranging itself in silence. Then I called my lawyer friend James. Hypothetically, I said, if someone's fiancé was cheating with his ex and planning their own wedding, what would you suggest? There was a pause, then document everything and protect yourself. I smiled for the first time since Thursday, because I already had a plan. I didn't confront him, not yet. Shock has a strange effect. It sharpens you. It strips away emotion and leaves behind pure, surgical clarity. I cried once, silently, in the bathroom with the shower running. Then I wiped my face, opened my laptop, and became someone else. A woman who documents. By Friday night, I knew more about Ethan and Lena's relationship than either of them realized. I started with the obvious. Social media. Ethan thought I didn't check his ex's profiles. Lena's Instagram was private, but not private enough. She'd forgotten about an old burner account I used years ago for freelance work. Still active, still following her. Her private stories told a different version of reality. Quotes about choosing passion over safety. When the right person comes at the wrong time. A champagne glass clinking against another, tagged at a place I didn't recognize. Her captions weren't subtle. They were declarations. What made my stomach twist wasn't the romance. It was the confidence. She wasn't hiding. She was waiting to be acknowledged. And she wasn't alone. Her sister Marissa commented, "Hearts, so happy for you." Finally. I had to sit back for a moment. Because if Marissa knew, that meant this wasn't impulsive. This wasn't a mistake. This was a coordinated reality. one I was never meant to be a part of. Saturday morning, I pulled the credit card statements, the one I'd added Ethan to for wedding expenses. Charges jumped out immediately. 2 different bridal boutiques, a catering tasting I hadn't attended, a photographer I didn't recognize. When I'd asked him about those charges weeks ago, he'd laughed it off. Wedding stress shopping, he'd said. I'll explain later. He never did. Now I understood why. Saturday afternoon, my grandmother called. Your cousin Ethan mentioned he's seeing someone special, she said cheerfully. Asked about borrowing my wedding ring. My hand froze around my phone. The ring Grandpa gave you? I asked. Yes, she said. He said it was for his future wife. I thanked her and hung up. Future wife, not fiancé, not me. By Sunday, I had a timeline. The affair hadn't started recently. It had been months. And then came Monday. I called in sick, told Ethan I was heading to work. He texted back, hope you have a good day, still thinking things through. Love you. 20 minutes later, his car pulled into our driveway. I wasn't home. I was sitting in a coffee shop 2 blocks away, laptop open, ring footage streaming live. Lena walked in like she owned the place. 3 hours. 3 hours they spent in the house I paid for. On the couch I picked, in the bed we shared. When they left, they were holding hands. I followed them. I'm not proud of it, but I don't regret it either. They parked outside Prestige Bridal. I waited. 40 minutes later, they walked out smiling. Lena carried a garment bag like it was a prize. Ethan was on the phone. Yeah, Mom, he said casually. October 14th. Save the date. His mother, my aunt, knew. That night, Ethan texted again. Thinking of you. This is hard for me. I stared at my phone and typed, I understand. Take all the time you need. Then I called James. This isn't hypothetical anymore, I said. He didn't ask questions. When's the venue appointment? I checked Ethan's social media. A vague post. Champagne emoji. Big meeting Wednesday. 2 days away. Tuesday night, Ethan came home to grab some things. I acted normal. That was the hardest part. You look tired, he said. Not sleeping well. He hugged me. Actually hugged me. I'm sorry I'm putting you through this, he murmured. You deserve better. I almost laughed. Instead, I nodded. He packed a bag, including the lingerie I bought for our honeymoon. At the door, he hesitated. Whatever happens, he said, I want you to know you're a good woman. I smiled softly. I know. He left. Wednesday came faster than I expected. At 1:45 p.m., James and I walked into the Oakmont estate. At 2:05, Ethan and Lena arrived, arm in arm. She was wearing the engagement ring I gave him. On her right hand now. They checked in. The coordinator led us all into the same private room. So excited to plan the Morrison wedding, she chirped. That's when I stepped forward. Actually, I said calmly, it was supposed to be the Thompson wedding. Lena went white. Ethan stood up. Claire, what are you doing here? Funny, I replied. I was about to ask you the same thing. James opened his briefcase, and the truth finally walked into the room. The room changed the moment James spoke. Good afternoon, he said smoothly, setting his briefcase on the polished oak table. I'm James Crawford, attorney. We need to discuss the fraudulent use of wedding deposits. The coordinator, Patricia, according to her name tag, blinked. I'm sorry, fraudulent? Ethan took a step toward me. Claire, this isn't what it looks like. Stop, I said. My voice didn't shake. That surprised even me. Just stop. I pulled out my phone. First, the receipt. October 14th, I said, sliding it across the table. The Riverside Garden. Deposits paid by me. $8,500. My wedding. Patricia's smile faltered. Then I tapped the screen again. Ring footage. Ethan? Patricia sucked in a breath. This is my fiancé, I said evenly, and his ex-girlfriend. At my house, while he was supposedly thinking things through. Lena finally found her voice. Claire, please. No. James slid documents forward. Any contracts signed under false pretenses are void. We have evidence of shared assets, joint payments, and ongoing infidelity. Patricia stood. I need to get my manager. Ethan, James smiled thinly. Actually, you do. Because every vendor in this region is about to receive notice of potential fraud. Lena started crying. Real tears, ugly ones. Why are you doing this? She sobbed. I'm not doing anything, I said quietly. You did. I'm just making sure everyone sees it. The manager arrived. James handled everything professionally, calm, methodical. The Oakmont estate canceled their tentative booking on the spot. As we walked out, Ethan called after me. This is between family. You didn't have to humiliate us. I turned. Family? I asked. You were sleeping with your ex in my bed while I paid for our wedding? You're not family. You're just a man who made himself very single. He froze. Oh, I added, almost kindly. I forgot to mention, I sent the ring footage to your girlfriend this morning. His face drained of color. She's moving out as we speak. The fallout was immediate. Within an hour, my phone exploded. Ethan's mother screamed about ruining her son's happiness. My own mother called next. Claire, she said carefully, Janet says you attacked Ethan with the truth. Maybe, I replied, but it was my wedding, my date, my fiancé. He just thought he could steal all of it. She came over that night. When she saw the footage, something in her snapped. She called Janet herself. I could hear the shouting from the other room. Words like homewrecker and enabling flew freely. Lena's family tried next. Her father asked to meet. Man to man, he said, forgetting who he was talking to. We met at a diner. What will it take to make this go away, he asked, sliding a checkbook across the table. I stood. There isn't enough money in the world to erase what your daughter did. That evening, Lena showed up at my door with her sister and mother. I deserve a chance to explain, Lena pleaded. You deserve consequences, I replied. I pulled out the credit card statements. $2,300 for a wedding dress, $500 for catering, $800 for a photographer, all on my card. Silence. You'll pay it back, I said. Or Ethan will. Or your father. I don't care. They left. Wednesday night, Ethan showed up at my office. I'm sorry, he said. No, I replied. You're sorry you got caught. You don't love her anymore anyway, he said weakly. That's not the point. His phone buzzed. He went pale. She's posting our texts, he whispered. Good, I said. Everyone deserves the truth. Saturday was the vendor marathon. Caterer, partial refund. Photographer, half back. Florist, full refund. At the dress shop, the manager laughed. She tried to return the dress yesterday. Security escorted her out. By Sunday, most of my deposits were recovered. Lena texted from her sister's phone. Can we talk like adults? Adults don't cheat, lie, and steal. Sunday night was my grandmother's birthday. She asked one question. Where's Ethan? Gone, I said. Good, she replied. He had shifty eyes. She removed him from her will that night. I slept for the first time in weeks. And for the first time since this started, I felt something other than rage. I felt free. Freedom was quiet at first. It settled in like dust after a storm, slow, almost imperceptible, until the consequences started arriving in waves. Monday morning, I walked into work and felt it immediately. The looks, the careful neutrality. News like that doesn't stay contained. It leaks through group chats and whispered lunch breaks. My boss pulled me aside. If you need time, I don't, I said, and I meant it. Work was the only place where my life still felt orderly. At noon, my phone rang. Unknown number. Claire, a man said. This is Marcus from the Oakmont estate. My stomach tightened. I wanted to apologize for Wednesday, he continued, and to let you know, we've had to refuse 3 additional booking inquiries from the same parties this weekend. I closed my eyes. They tried other venues. Yes, we made a few calls. The wedding industry is small. We protect our vendors. I didn't know what to say. Consider us in the future, he added gently, if you ever need an event planned. When I hung up, I laughed. Once. Sharp and incredulous. They were done. By Tuesday, the family war had gone public. Ethan's mother called, screaming. Accusations flew. Vindictive, cruel, overreacting. You're destroying his life, she shrieked. No, I said calmly. I stopped letting him destroy mine. She threatened to cut me out of the family. I laughed and hung up. Lena's father tried again. This time, he showed up at my office. "This has gone too far," he said, standing stiffly in the lobby. "She can't book a venue anywhere within 200 miles. That sounds like a her problem." "She's had to take leave from work," he snapped. "People are talking." "They should. You've ruined her life." I looked at him then, really looked. "She ruined her own life," I said quietly. "I just refused to be collateral damage." He left without another word. That evening, Lena texted again. 37 messages. I didn't read them. Wednesday night was the confrontation I'd been waiting for. Ethan showed up at my apartment with beer and an apology rehearsed so thoroughly it sounded memorized. "We've known each other since we were kids," he said. "I made a mistake." "No," I replied. "You made a series of choices. I love her." "You love what you can't have." He leaned forward. "We can fix this." "No, you can't." He stood abruptly. "You're ruining my life over this." I didn't raise my voice. "You ruined your life the first time you kissed her. I just made it visible." He left the beers on my counter. I gave them to my neighbor. Saturday brought the family dinner I'd forgotten about. My grandmother's 85th birthday. Mandatory attendance. I walked into a room full of silence. 30 relatives. One truth. Grandma broke it first. "Claire, sit by me." I did. Ethan sat across the room, rigid. His mother's glare could have cut glass. Grandma took a sip of her wine and asked loudly, "Ethan, where's that nice girl you were dating?" "We broke up," he muttered. "Why?" Silence. "Because he was sleeping with Lena while engaged to Claire," my cousin helpfully supplied. Ethan's mother stood. "We don't need to discuss this." "Sit," Grandma snapped. She turned back to Ethan. "Is it true?" "Yes." "And you plan to marry her on Claire's wedding date?" Another pause. "Yes." Grandma nodded slowly. "Then you're uninvited from Thanksgiving and Christmas." "Mom," his mother protested. "My house, my rules," Grandma said. "I don't host liars." She looked at me. "Do you want the ring back?" "What ring?" "My wedding ring," she said. "The one he asked for. It's cursed now anyway." Ethan stood. "This is ridiculous." "Your grandfather would be ashamed of you," Grandma said quietly. "He was many things, but never a thief." They left. The party continued awkwardly, but I wasn't alone. Cousins whispered support. An aunt admitted she'd suspected something for months. "Kid always was a snake," my uncle muttered. "Stole his brother's bike once and painted it." Sunday morning, I finalized the vendor refunds. $6,200 recovered. Not bad. Lena texted one last time. "You're being petty." I typed back once. "I'm being practical." Then I blocked her. That afternoon, my phone buzzed with a family group chat update. Grandma had officially removed Ethan from her will. $30,000 redistributed among the other grandkids. She sent me a winking emoji. I smiled. By Monday, the dust had settled. Ethan lost his job, not because of the affair, but because he'd been taking 3-hour lunches for months. His boss had documentation. The ring footage timestamps were the final nail. Lena started working remotely. Translation? Everyone knew. They were still together, allegedly. They were that couple now. The whispers followed them everywhere. That night, I booked a solo vacation. 2 weeks in Europe. I posted photos, sunsets, wine, quiet joy. Lena watched every story. I knew because Instagram tells you who views them. On Thursday, I ran into her at a gas station. She looked older, smaller. "Claire," she whispered. "Lena, I'm sorry." "I know." "Do you forgive me?" "No." She cried as I finished pumping gas and drove away. That was the last time I spoke to her, and it felt final. 3 weeks after the venue confrontation, the noise finally faded. Not disappeared, faded. Like a bruise you stop checking because it no longer surprises you when it hurts. Here's where everyone landed. Ethan and Lena were still together. At least, that's what the family grapevine said. They were that couple now, the ones people lowered their voices about. Oh, those two? She left her fiancé for his ex. I heard they tried to steal the wedding date. No venue will touch them. The wedding industry, it turns out, has a longer memory than families do. They couldn't secure a caterer. Photographers suddenly had scheduling conflicts. A florist canceled after reviewing internal policies. Translation? Everyone knew. Ethan officially lost his job the following Monday. His boss called him in under the pretense of a performance review. 3-hour lunches, repeated absences, patterned behavior. The ring footage timestamps, time-stamped proof he wasn't where he claimed to be, were the final confirmation. He wasn't fired for cheating. He was fired for lying. Lena took leave from work, then quietly transitioned to remote. Office gossip had turned brutal. She was no longer Lena from accounting. She was the woman who cheated with her fiancé's ex. My mother called to update me like it was weather. Trash took itself out, she said, not unkindly. Grandma was less subtle. She showed me the paperwork. Ethan's portion of the inheritance, estimated $30,000, had been redistributed among the other grandchildren. He'll survive, she said. Consequences build character. I didn't argue. The recovered wedding money paid for my trip. 2 weeks in Europe. I walked cobblestone streets alone, drank wine without checking my phone, slept without anxiety pressing down on my chest. I posted photos. Not to be petty, though that was a bonus, but to remind myself that my life hadn't ended. Lena watched every single story. Every one. Halfway through the trip, I got a message from a mutual acquaintance. Apparently, Ethan had been trying to win her back. Flowers, apologies, promises. He'd even suggested eloping to avoid the venue issue. She declined. According to the same source, he was broke. Katie, his girlfriend before Lena, had cleaned out their joint savings account as payback when she found out about the affair. I laughed harder than I should have. When I got back, my cousin Mike set me up on a date. She's normal, he promised. No interest in family members. That alone was refreshing. We went out twice. It didn't explode into fireworks or tragedy. It was easy. And after everything, easy felt like a luxury. The ring. The engagement ring I gave Ethan. Lena tried to pawn it. The pawn shop owner recognized my uncle's last name and called him first. My uncle bought it back and handed it to me without a word. I sold it to a legitimate jeweler and donated the money to a support group for people recovering from infidelity. I posted the receipt. Petty? Sure. Satisfying? Absolutely. A week later, I ran into Ethan. Gas station. Late afternoon. Awkward eye contact across the pumps. He looked tired. Thinner. Older, somehow. Claire, he said. Ethan. I'm sorry. I know. He hesitated. Do you forgive me? I finished pumping gas and replaced the nozzle. No. Will you ever? Probably not. His voice cracked. Lena's not who I thought she was. I met his eyes. Neither were you. He cried. I got in my car and left. Sunday after that, he showed up at my apartment with beers and a speech he'd clearly practiced. We were best friends, he said, since we were kids. Were, I corrected. You're really ending this over a girl? I laughed. No, over betrayal, over trust, over the fact that you were in my bed with your ex while I was working to pay for our wedding. I'll make it right. You can't. Some things don't get fixed. He left the beers. Again. I gave them to my neighbor. Again. Then came the final piece of gossip. Apparently, Lena was pregnant, due in October. The math worked out perfectly. Right around when the affair started, my mother told me. Aunt Janet was thrilled about being a grandmother. Grandma was unimpressed. The baby isn't welcome at Christmas either, she said flatly. Sins of the parents don't disappear just because they reproduced. Harsh. But Grandma doesn't play. People ask me now if the whole thing changed me. Yes, I check ring footage more than I should. I question motives. I assume less and verify more. But I also learned something important. When people show you who they are, believe them. When they try to gaslight you into thinking you're crazy for seeing the truth, document everything and protect yourself. Ethan wanted excitement. Lena wanted validation. They got each other. That's punishment enough. Me? I got most of my money back, my dignity intact, and a very effective story for family gatherings. Where's Ethan? People ask. Somewhere, I say, not my problem, worth every penny I lost.